Christian Uber driver doesn't understand marriage according to the Bible. I want to give all honor, glory, and praises to the Most High Yahawah, His only begotten Son, YAHAWASHI, whom the world ignorantly called Jesus, because the letter J didn't exist 2,000 years ago, nor did the English alphabet. Double honors to my elders at Great Millstone taught me this truth. Single honors to the elect. Peace and bless to the 1/3 and to the confusion, the faces in the four corners of the earth. Shalom. So I caught an Uber from my job the other morning, and me and the Uber driver, we had a very cordial, friendly, nice conversation about nostalgia. You know, he was asking, hey, man, you remember back in the day, yada, yada, yada. So I just started going to nostalgia with him, too. I was like, yo, back in the day, we didn't have an alarm clock. You know, alarm clock was grandma waking up, turning on that Christian television network, you know, cooking food, and us smelling the food will know it's time for us to eat. You know what I'm saying? Waking up and all this and that. Just talking like old school, like how you had to go out and have a mouthpiece to talk to women rather than being inside all day, on the apps and stuff. We were just really talking like that. So then I had mentioned my Eve. You know, I was talking about, I mentioned marriage in a sense, just to say it. Yeah, you know, thinking about marrying my Eve and you know, moving in together. Yeah. Oh no, don't do it. Don't get married. I'm like thinking to myself, what? I'm like, what are you talking about? It was just a cordial conversation. All of a sudden, he just, you know. So my question to him was, well, sir, are you married? He said, yes. I said, so why are you against it? He said, no, I'm not against it at all. I'm just saying, before you move in, before you get pregnant, move in together and get married, because you don't want to get pregnant first and yada yada. So then I said, well, you do know, according to the Bible, you know that the reason I knew he was a Christian man, because all the music he was playing in his car, it was very low, but you could see the names and the titles. It were like very Christian music, Christian based. So I asked him, I said, so you're married, right? He's like, yes. I said, so before you got married, did you guys have sex? He said, yes, they did. He said, yes, we did. Okay, so did the father know you were having sex? Well, pretty much I know. So, but did you ask the father and the mother? Oh, yes, I asked both of them for her hand in marriage. So the father was fine with you defiling and deflowering his daughter, but you had to ask for her hand in marriage. You had to ask his permission. And when I say, he was like, oh, you know, listen, I'm not against you. I'm just saying, I'm like, right. I just want you to understand where I was coming from. And I shook his hand and everything. I said, sir, it's not a problem. I'm joking with you. It's not an issue and everything. I even gave him a tip and all that. But the fact of the matter is that he's trying to school me on getting married first and then getting the house and then having a child and everything like that. Sir, you was defiling a woman before you even had her, quote unquote, marriage in hand, but little do you know, you already was married to the woman the first time y'all had sex. But then again, the plot thickens. The first man that enters his penis into her, that's her husband for the rest of her life. Now let me open up with that. Then I'm going to read the story on how Isaac and Rebekah became husband and wife. This is Romans chapter 7, verse 1-3. Know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law, how that the law have dominion over a man as long as he liveth. Right? So as long as you are living on this God's green earth, you are under the law. So when people say we not under the law, Paul clearly said it. I speak to them that know the law. All right, verse 2. For the woman which hath an husband is bound by the law to her husband so long as he liveth. So the first man to enter a woman, that makes him her husband. I'm going to prove that. But if the husband is dead, she is loose from the law of her husband, or she can go in the path of Judith. So then if, while her husband liveth, she be married to another man, meaning that she have sex with another man. So let's say this individual who dropped me off yesterday, he was not her first. But he loved her and he wanted to marry her according to society's protocols and everything. So you will be openly committing adultery. Understand? Now Paul did say all things are lawful but not expedient. Meaning that we're not gonna stone this man because he fell in love with a woman that a man no longer wanted to deal with. So in a sense, like Corey Holcomb said, we all dealing with somebody left over. But nonetheless, though, that goes back to the scripture, Matthew 16:4. Adulterous generation. What does that mean? A woman could have had, let's just say a woman could have had 5 sexual partners in her life. But every time she had a sexual partner, she was in a relationship. The first man she had sex with, that's supposed to be her husband till the day he passes away or whatever the case may be. So she leaves him and leaves the second dude, the third dude, and the fourth dude, and go and be with the fifth dude, and they quote unquote get married according to today's society. She openly committed, well, she don't know, unbeknownst to her though, but I'm saying she committed adultery with her first husband by sleeping with 4 other men. Understand? It's a lot. So, understanding that we under the law, that's why Paul said all things are lawful but not expedient. So technically, men today, like even, men who are part of the elect have women that they are married to, have kids with, but they're not there first. So are they a sinner? According to the scriptures, yes, but we under grace. Right? What did the Lord say? The Lord said, your wife shall be a harlot in the streets. Now that right there really is a harlot, is a woman that knowingly and willingly is committing adultery. Like she's married, come home to the man, sleep next to the man, but she with no other men all the time. Understand? Let's get back to it. Romans chapter 7 verse 3. So then if while her husband liveth she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress. And what the Lord said about the adulterer and adulteress, they both shall be stoned to death. But if her husband be dead, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man. So this right here is going back to the basis, all right? So let's go to Genesis chapter 24, verse 51 through 60, and also verse 63 through 67. Behold, Rebekah is before thee, take her and go and let her be thy master's son's wife, as the Lord hath spoken. So one of the servants of Abraham passed away. And I believe, Isaac's mother's passed away as well. So he's grieving. And Abraham's servant is going to find him a damsel, a young damsel for him to marry. That's another thing about Israel. When Israel is sad, when Israel is sorrowful, when Israel is being oppressed, what do we always resort to, so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans? Sex. Food, good food, some drink, and sex. What happened when Pharaoh oppressed us more and more with rigor, with work? We multiply. Like I say on baby kids, we don't die, we multiply. Exactly. The more you oppress us, the more we're just going to continue to multiply. Okay? Anyhow. So, Genesis chapter 24, verse 52. And it came to pass that when Abraham's servant heard their words, he worshipped Yahawah, bowing himself to the earth. Gotta put respect on his name. And the servant brought forth jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment and gave them to Rebekah. He gave also to her brother and to her mother precious things. And also there's something known as a dowry. A dowry will be either money, land, cattle, precious things, and gifts that you would give to the mother, the brother, and the father as a token of appreciation and gratuity of raising up a wife. Notice she has to be raised up to be a wife as well, which is a burden to a father, because you have to marry her off unto a man of wisdom and a man of substance. But she also has to be a woman of wisdom and substance, understand? In order to rear in the next generation, which would be your seed. So both parents are very valuable. So let's get back to it. So this is Genesis chapter 24, verse 54. And they did eat and drink, he and the men that were with him, and tarried all night. And they rose up in the morning, and he said, send me away to my master. So that's kind of like a commemoration of what's to come. You know how they have the bachelor party and the bachelorette party today? It ain't nothing like it was back in the ancient time. The men were, like I said, they give gifts into the parents. You notice how the servants doing all the talking. Isaac's not. He hasn't even met the woman yet. Understand? And this is how it's supposed to be like before the wedding day. Oh, you're not supposed to see the bridegroom and the bride's not supposed to see each other before the wedding on their wedding day. All this stems from the Bible, y'all. Come on now. Okay? But what they do, the ring represents Saturn, the actual God. God is Saturnalia that they believe in. No, we don't. No, we don't do that. So that's another thing too. That's paganism. But anyhow, verse 55. And her brother and her mother said, let the damsel abide with us a few days, at the least 10. After that she shall go. And he said unto them, hinder me not, meaning like, hey, don't stall me. Seeing Yahawah have prospered my way, send me away that I may go to my master. And they said, we will call the damsel and inquire at her mouth. I apologize. I think only his mother passed away. Abraham's still alive. I apologize, y'all. It's been a while since I actually read back in Genesis the story. And they said, we will call the damsel and inquire at her mouth. And they called Rebekah and said unto her, wilt thou go with this man? And she said, I will, meaning she will go with the servant. And they sent away Rebekah their sister and her nurse and Abraham's servant and his men. And they blessed Rebekah and said unto her, thou art our sister, be thou the mother of thousands of millions. Ooh, and let thy seed possess the gate of those who hate them, forgive me. Verse 63. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field at the eventide, and he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lighted off the camel. And she had said unto the servant, what man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, it is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. I apologize. Abraham's servant was also the servant of Isaac. I apologize. So when he was saying going back to his master, the servant was talking about going back to Isaac. Okay, so it is so Abraham and his mother must have passed away already. Okay, I want to make sure I get it right. But hey, if I'm wrong, sorry, please correct me, because I'm not a fool, and the scripture says correction is grievous unto a fool. So going back, Genesis 24 and 65. And she had said unto the servant, what man is that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, it is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. So she realized it's her husband. She said, oh shoot, let me cover my face up. Right? All right. And the servant told Isaac all things which he had done. So the servant told Isaac, listen here, I went and set this up for you. Woo. I gave him presents, yada, yada, yada. We ate, we did all this and that. You know, we chilled. And so Isaac didn't have to do nothing but show up. Now, verse 66. Listen to this. Here comes the focal point. Listen to what happens. And then it says she became his wife. Genesis 24 and 66. And the servant told Isaac all things which he had done. 67. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent. So they went inside and took Rebekah. He didn't sit there and ask her what's her favorite color, what's her favorite genre of music. None of that. So he took Rebekah, and she became his wife. What? There wasn't no man in the tent saying, do you accept this woman as your lawfully wedded wife, and through thickness and thin and sickness and health? Did they do all of that? No, they didn't. Okay? It said they went into the tent. He took her, meaning that he took her, had sex with her, and she became his wife. And he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. So after sex, what happened? He was comforted after his mother's death. And she became his wife, people. It didn't say she became his wife after the gifts was given, right? So what commemorates marriage between a man and a woman? Sex. So segueing up to today, how can you have same-sex marriage? I'm gonna leave it alone. So going back to the Uber driver, trying to tell me don't get pregnant before you move in, all the other kind of stuff. Sir, sex commemorates marriage, and you was already defiling that man's daughter before you even ask, can you marry her, according to society's standards, you know. So I just want to go into what marriage is according to the scriptures. And also remember, Sirach or Ecclesiastes